but we've got a lot to cover today, and so we'll just get going right now. My name is Neil Block. I'm the Vice President for Discovery Innovation for Academic Libraries at EBSCO, and so as part of that role, I really work with a variety of groups here at EBSCO, the product department, product management, and product development, work with the research department, and as well as the sales team to try to get input and feedback on where EDS, our discovery service, should be going in the future. And I'd like to just talk about a couple of different things with you here as we move on. The academic library research experience is getting affected and is being changed by a number of different trends or environmental factors, what I would call them. And one is the evolving library itself and the changes that are taking place with respect to the collection. Second is how we track changing user behavior and user needs or requirements, and we'll put that in the context of our user research and some actual programs that we've done to try to measure the research process as people go through their academic career. And then a third factor that I would like to talk about is interoperability of technology and systems, and we've all seen a change now where there are many more systems in place, and the systems that are being used are more complex, and the needs for these different technologies to interoperate with one another, the bars are very high. And so we'll talk about interoperability as we go on. And we think that supporting the effective research environment requires addressing each of these factors, and that's really kind of our rough agenda for this afternoon, or at least afternoon on the East Coast here. First of all, the academic library, as we all know, is changing in multiple ways. The collection is moving increasingly from the library being a storage or a warehouse or an inventory, if you will, of physical material, to being a very large investment in electronic content, and that has a definite impact on how users interact with the collection and with the library itself. One of those changes, of course, and I won't touch on this too much, is the physical space. The physical space is now, in many cases, being used more for collaborative study, for a quiet or safe environment for students to come and do research, and less as a place where students go to actively browse the shelves. They do that in many cases, but that's not the only purpose of the physical space. Technology, we're seeing some shifts in how technology is deployed. We see the integrated library system or the library services platform where prior, say 5 or 10 years ago, that was central to the library's operation, the effective management of circulation, of checking in serials, of managing the metadata for material. It's becoming a little less central as more and more electronic and digital resources are moving upwards here. Discovery is being seen as more of an essential service, which is core to the library's mission. Workflow, of course, is increasingly automated. And as I mentioned, we'll talk about the user, because the user and their success and outcome is really at the core of what we strive for in building a discovery service. One of the slides we have here is talking about the changing nature of the collection over time. And here, if we just take one average library, let's say 12,000 student population, and we look a little bit in the past, we say maybe there were 1 million physical volumes in that library. Probably 15,000 or so print serial titles, which needed to be managed in checking in, claiming. Many libraries did binding or routing of these serial issues, and quite high circulation because that's how users really access the collection. Generally, the systems that were available at that time had a public catalog. That was good for, and kind of purpose-built for searching the catalog, searching the physical collection. Databases were searched either via the native database interface, connecting directly or connecting to EBSCO host, some other service, and then moving on into federated search as being a step up where you could collect multiple databases and search them in one single step. As we look at the change in what's been going on in libraries, we see that number of volumes may be the same, maybe down a little, could be up a little. There's certainly not a lot of growth in the physical collection, and definitely with respect to what users access in the library facility, many times a large number of these volumes are held in off-site storage. Circulation, we see very clearly, is going down, and because of the increased reliance on electronic resources. And so that's, you frankly don't need as robust a circulation system as you may have needed 10 or 15 years ago. Monograph collections, they are increasingly automated through services like YBP or OCLC. On the right-hand side of this column with the three boxes, you can see e-books are definitely up. E-journals are definitely up, and discovery is up because now we've made that transition for your users in their research where before they were picking individual databases. Now they can search a large centralized index of content and use that as a way to move forward into their chosen research topic. And we'll talk about that as we move forward today. This new collection reflects the electronic emphasis, the new workflows, and an increased focus on user success and user outcomes. And to illustrate this, I'm going to point out just what one library, and this is a strategic plan or library mission statement that was taken from Wichita State University. And Don Gilstrap, the dean there, who's soon to become the dean at the University of Alabama, but made a presentation at the NITSO Open Discovery Initiative seminar in January of 2015 and pointed out this was their #1 goal, is to promote a superior user experience through the development of innovative services that support educational, cultural, and research needs of the university. And I would bet many of you participating today have within your mission statement or strategic plan goals and objectives that look very similar to this, and that is to promote a superior user experience. We certainly believe that discovery and in building an excellent discovery service and deploying it in the way that you choose or you select within your library is part of that user experience. And what we're going to do now is we'll talk a little bit about EBSCO user research and how that informs the work that we do to make discovery better. So what we did was last year we undertook a significant study, and the type of study we did is called contextual inquiry. So it's really getting in there and watching as people do their research so we can determine what the best tools and resources they have for working within the library environment. And we studied groups of students from all age ranges, so high school, early college, later college, all the way on through graduate students, because we wanted to very much focus on when those students make a turn from being a generalized information consumer to a more specialized researcher in their specific subject or topic that they're interested in, their major, if you will. So how did that affect their research behavior? This was done in a variety of regions with individuals of different backgrounds. And the basic question that was asked was, describe your last research project. So, and then we just took it from there. We came up with 6 key strategies on how to improve the library customer experience. I'm not going to go through all of these 6, but there are a couple that I'm going to focus on today. We did look at the entire user's digital landscape, which is very important, their information literacy, how the background that they bring to the college or university, their motivation, and the library website as being important factors in discovery and researching. But we're going to focus on 2 different areas. We're going to focus on the powerful influence of Google and Wikipedia and how that can relate to what we deliver as a discovery service. And then we're going to talk about something that seems relatively simple, and it's the results page. And there's a lot of detail that will uncover based on how individuals use discovery or the web, services like Google, in terms of finding information quickly. So let's talk about the phenomenon of what we could call Googlepedia, the combination of Google and Wikipedia. So the use of this becomes deeply ingrained. It provides an immediate reward or an immediate feedback to the user. When any of us do a search, a broad topical search on Google, usually Wikipedia is right there up at the top, and that can be used to give us an entry point and facilitating our interest in that particular topic. Now, we know from doing snapshots of use of the entire EDS platform that topical searches predominate in all market segments, academic, special libraries, corporate libraries, and even public libraries, that they are the most oftenly searched terms are usually 1 or 2 word terms in the discovery service. So then how do we provide that feedback and adapt this for more scholarly use? So first of all, some of the findings that we brought back, and one is a word that makes complete sense when I think about it, but I wouldn't really have aligned it with use of Google, and one is the word trust. People and users, all of us, have a high trust in Google, in those search results, in those relevance rank results. So we believe that if the results we're looking for are not up at the top, the problem is with us. And so we then re-enter the search. That becomes the way that we interact with Google. So having that bar of relevance ranking and trust is something that we very much want for EDS. And as we all know, the first half of the first page is most important. Users can access different types of information, so images, news, and video. So as we look to incorporate different types of information within discovery, and especially one of the big things that we've done recently is integrate Associated Press video into our search results. We know this is important because this is what people are asking for in the search logs. Wikipedia is often there. And as we talked about, the user is more likely to re-enter a search than they are to browse to page 2 or 3 of the results. When somebody comes to Wikipedia, they get an overview of the topic in layman terms they get a preview, they get a high-level outline of what that topic entails, and there are references and links so they can explore additional information. So these are the key rewards or benefits of calling up a Wikipedia page as an entry point into the topic. One of the things that we do within EDS is we have incorporated research starters, and research starters are almost 70,000 scholarly entries on the most heavily searched topics and people in EDS. So in this case, we typed a search for fracking. The #1 entry coming up in this area that we call a placard search result is the research starter for fracking. So that user gets the Wikipedia-like experience and is kept in the library brand. Not only that, the research starter is a scholarly article on this particular topic. So it contains citable references. If we click through to that, it will have audio or video, it will have images, it will have references at the bottom. And so it's really designed to provide that Wikipedia interest or that Wikipedia result within the discovery experience. The second thing that I'd like to talk about is the results page, and this seems like a very simple topic. You type in a search and you get some results. You get titles or you get authors, you get a variety of metadata that you can use to distinguish one result from the other. And I think many of us thought and believed that the results page, certainly the order in which the relevance came up is important, because we could go to the first or the second entry and click through to find more information. What we are finding from our user research is that the results page is not just a pass-through to entry #1 or entry #2, where the user will automatically click through to the full record. Important decisions are being made at that results page screen. So it's a very critical tool to, for users to evaluate that information. Robust metadata and the immediate full text linking from that results page are critical components so users can make the best decision. So let's take a little look at how this appears in EDS. And in this case, we have a search for Ebola virus. That's relevant. Of course, there's a research starter here for Ebola virus where 2 years ago or 18 months ago, we might not have needed a research starter. It wasn't as popular of a term or topic. As we saw that move up in terms of popularity for our search terms, we needed to add that research starter, and we can do that very quickly. So as you can see, the user sees and points out different areas. First of all, they may be interested in finding out, I typed in Ebola virus, is that what I'm getting back? Am I getting back the correct results? How do I know that? I know that by looking at the titles, the research starter. I also can find that out through the subjects in this entry, because we're including very rich metadata. The subjects also provide pointers on where else the user can search to locate additional information on this topic. We can see that there's full text that is available right from that first screen. So where we might view a screen like this and think, well, I start at entry #1 on the top left-hand side and start reading down throughout the entire page, our student or researcher is pointing out quick aspects of the results and in bringing those back and making a decision as to whether the results match up with the search request as entered, or whether they move forward or re-enter a search. So we can say our researchers skim the results. They don't read everything. They scan to find keywords, terms, and concepts that match their search result and that which they can use to move forward to other affiliated areas. And above all, they are efficient. So efficiency is key here at this point, and that really speaks to having relevance ranking, the correct entries up at the top, PDF having full text available on the results page without having to go through a link resolver in every case, where a link resolver search is basically another search and requires another decision by the user. Here, that full text is presented right there wherever possible. If we take a look at a standard EDS search screen here, you can see we have a couple of content carousels at the bottom. One is for Footstar digital magazines, the other one is for some ebooks. And if we enter in a search, in this case, medical marijuana, we can point out a couple of areas that assist the research process and also for our, as we know, highly efficient students and researchers. So we typed in the search medical marijuana, and below that you can see popular terms. So these are the most popular search terms for medical marijuana that are being done at the platform level. So we're leveraging big data to provide other search terms that would be of benefit to the user. You can see we have medical marijuana benefits, pros and cons, legislation or uses, and they can scroll down if one of those might be more specific or be in a facet of the search in which they're particularly interested. The second part leverages the knowledge base. And so at that point, typing in the search will also search the knowledge base and the library holdings, and will give them publications that meet this criteria. So this is very, very important as we look at how we can help the student or the researcher get exactly where they want to go. Once we get to that results page, as you can see, we have a research starter there, as we discussed earlier. And then we have the link to the full text right there on that first screen. They can click through and immediately grab that full text of the article. Another point that I did bring up earlier is Associated Press videos. And so we recently licensed a huge number of video content to incorporate within EDS. And so these come from the Associated Press. The important thing to note here is these videos are, for the most part, and I'd say the very, very high percentage, are not available on the open web. So this is information that we are licensing and comes back as part of the search results. We can put that in as a little insert here right in the results page. We know that people are requesting videos because, once again, we can see from the search logs that many times people would be typing in the topic plus the word video. So this is a way to provide additional content to our users besides just the catalog, institutional repository data, articles, subject databases, and full text. So video content integrated. One click takes us right to the PDF of the full text. As long as we're in this section, I want to talk a little bit about an enhancement to relevance ranking that we are making, and it's called concept-aware search. Many of you know that EDS takes advantage of the rich metadata that are provided to us by many of the subject database providers, CINAHL, ATLA, Realm, So we get very robust metadata, including their subject headings and subject thesauri. And of course, those are specific and in many cases unique to that particular database. So concept-aware search moves things up a little bit higher. And as we talked about, topical searches are a large percentage of the types of search that people use in discovery. The issue is that an imprecise search query does not always sync up with precise subject indexing. So how do we make those two things align so the user gets the best result for their search? So we leverage that subject indexing, and the objective is to enhance the unstructured keyword search with structured concept data. We'll give you a couple of examples here of a topical query. As you can see along the left-hand side, we have the query that many times the user of the Discovery Service would type in, fracking, whereas the subject indexing term in EDS is hydraulic fracturing. ADHD, where of course we have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, global warming could be climate change, tumors could be neoplasms, gay marriage could be same-sex marriage, with or without the hyphen. So how do we make these all work together to keep that subject indexing for people who are aware of it and want to get directly there, but also for people who may use the commonly used term, fracking, instead of hydraulic fracturing, and make sure that we get the proper results. So this is a huge relevance ranking enhancement that we are doing, which builds relationships across subject thesauri from multiple databases. So this is something that we have made a commitment to subject indexing and subject heading search as part of the relevance ranking algorithm within EDS. This is a key differentiator from most other discovery services that really rely on keywords of titles, keywords of full text, keywords of authors. We also bring in that other structured, metadata-specific approach that many of us are used to from the catalog itself and the sort of metadata that we have within marked catalog records, as well as these subject databases where really their currency, if you will, their value and benefit is in creating that thesaurus. So pointing now to a search here, briefly, gay marriage being the search, you can see the first two entries don't really result in entries that have gay marriage within them. It might be marriage equality, it could be same-sex marriage. So trying to bring these concepts together to get the user's keyword search, which could be the common term or shorthand, if you will, fracking for hydraulic fracturing, mapping that into the various concepts to bring the best results back. So this is a definite win for our users as we look at enhancing the research experience, making use of their precious time here to bring back those results. So we talked about most of this, research starters, the result list and the importance of the result list displays, the responsive autocomplete, and the relevance ranking enhancements with concept-aware search. So these are specific ways that we study the users in collaboration with our libraries to do this user research, bring that user research back into the product cycle itself so we can help address the areas of need or the pain points that people have in that research process. So this is the sort of virtuous circle that we're engaged in all the time of learning more, embedding that in the product, enhancing the product, bringing that out to our libraries. For the next section, I'm going to talk a little bit about the technology ecosystem and what the requirements are, what the needs are for interoperability. And this is becoming more and more important as given the diverse set of systems that libraries now operate and how they all fit together seamlessly for the benefit of the end user. So let's start off with a little statement here, and to provide a superior user experience, libraries need interoperable technologies and partners willing to work together. So I think there's two different components here, or actually three. Obviously, we want to all work together to provide a better user outcome or a better user experience. We need technologies that adhere to standards and use APIs, application programming interfaces, to communicate with one another in an easy fashion. But beyond that, we need partners. We need libraries, suppliers, vendors, and communities to work together, because ultimately, and many times, in most cases, this comes down to people that work together to get the job done. So let's talk a little bit about this. And every library has a unique set of services. This is kind of the snowflake metaphor here, right? That's what makes one library different from another, is the collection you build, the services you subscribe to, the technologies that you deploy, and the actual users or the student body or the community that you have within your institution, which can differ from those in another institution. So that unique mix of technology, content, and usage coming together. Let's highlight one of these, and here's kind of our view of the world, where discovery plays a central role in many of the services. And you can see this is a very limited list of the sorts of technologies and content that you might work with in your library. Books, e-books, journals, databases, a learning management system, ILL options, institutional repository, an ILS system, holdings and knowledge base, analysis and assessment tools, books and e-books. If I click one more time on this, you can see that now within each of these different areas, there are many, many different choices. Excuse me. So EDS and EBSCO, as being a leading discovery supplier, we need to work in this larger community where not only are there different types of services and content and technology, within each area of that that we serve, there are many, many possible options. So you can see that this increases the complexity of data that needs to be ingested within discovery, or areas that we need to connect with to leverage for authentication or for other tools. So it builds a pretty complex matrix of interactions. We obviously like to think that discovery is at the center of this, and it is central to that research experience, but obviously we need to work with a lot of partners and a lot of institutions to make sure that our discovery service works effectively with all of these different tools. One of the things that we're really proud of with EDS is that we have a very open environment, which means the library is completely free to select the integrated library system or library services platform that you use. You can choose how you want your discovery results to be displayed to your user, the type of user interface. The library can select the knowledge base that is best, the link resolver tool that is best, or publication finding tool, the institutional repository or the learning management system. So there is complete flexibility, and we integrate with your solution. This is different than many other discovery services that say, now I was at a library a couple of weeks ago that said, well, we were talking to another provider and asked them, could you work, can your other vendor, Discovery Service, work with this sort of knowledge base not provided by you and this sort of link resolver not provided by you? And they said that other vendors said, well, sure, as long as you buy it all from us, it will all work okay. And that really is not the type of approach that we want to promote at EBSCO. We want you to make your best decision, whether it's with your ILS, your knowledge base, your link resolver, any of these services, and we will work with your decision. And do we have competing products in some of these areas? Yes, we do. And we certainly work to try to provide benefits where it would be useful for you to take advantage of it. But we want you to make your best decision, and we're going to do our best to interoperate with that solution. One way of showing this is there's a couple of different ways that EDS can be deployed. First of all, we have a front-end user interface, and we love it. We think it looks great. I'll show you an example of that, and some of the search results that I showed earlier show EDS in what we would call our native user interface. The local library catalog metadata are harvested into EDS. Institutional repository and other data are brought in as well. And the patron functionality can be connected with your ILS system via APIs. And these are areas that we are actively working on all the time with the ILS vendors, and we'll show you where we are with that in a second. Second is you can use the integrated library system as the front-end user experience. If you like the EDS technology and the EDS content, you like our relevance ranking, our research starters, and so on, but you like the user interface provided by your integrated library system, we have an API, and that API for EDS brings in all of the technology and all of the content that we have in our native interface into the user interface that you select. And the third part is you can use an open source tool, catalog as the front-end user experience. You could use Viewfind, you could use Blacklight, you could use a Drupal content management system, or even Koha, the public catalog, as a front end for EDS. So a lot of variety in the ways that you can deliver the rich EDS content. Here's an example of our front-end user experience. You've seen it several times with the facets along the left-hand side, the results, the research starters. We also have an ability in that same area where the research starter is, that if you type an exact term for a full text subscription that you have the content to, for instance, Harvard Business Review, you can do a search within, which will highlight the full text of just that particular journal. Second one is using the ILS user interface as the front-end experience, and this shows the Cersei Dynex Enterprise front end with EDS content brought in via the API. We also work with Innovative Interfaces, the Encore system, and other front ends as well. The third point is open source as the front end experience, and I believe this is a blacklight display where they are using a two-panel approach, and the two-panel approach separates out catalog results from article results. As part of a further research and enhancements that we are looking at right now is the ability to use a search screen or a search results screen that is similar to this, but can provide different result areas, similar to what is sometimes called a bento box, although our approach will be a little bit different, but we'll have separate areas if the library chooses for articles or catalog or video or institutional repository and various discrete types of information. So we're looking at how to improve our user interface at the same time as we always improve our back-end technologies as well, such as relevance ranking. We talked a little bit about chip, and I think EBSCO is unparalleled in this respect, and we have nearly 40 ILS partners worldwide, which means we work literally with every ILS partner that we can find who is willing to work with us. And as we say, the discovery via the native user interface or API. And if there is a ILS provider who is not as willing to work with us on a formal partnership basis, we work with customers via technical collaboration to help bring the best results together. So we are very interested in working with your ILS platform, whichever service that might be. I'll talk a little bit about integrating within the larger campus environment, because making this library content, your collection really, not only the physical collection, but the electronic collection that you select and curate, making that available throughout the campus is very important. We have a tool that is called Curriculum Builder, which deploys EDS content into your learning management system. It uses a standard that is called LTI, Learning Tools Interoperability. Many faculty and TA have been doing this over time, and library staff, frankly, but what happens sometimes is people copy and paste links. When that is done, it's difficult to get accurate usage statistics. Many times there are session parameters or session IDs associated with that link, so the link does not always react properly. There can be broken links. So this works to solve those particular issues, so you get accurate usage and no broken links. It's supported by all of the major learning management system solutions, and it's available via our App Store. I'm going to talk about this in a second, because it's one of the key ways that each library can customize their research or discovery experience for your particular institution. Here, I believe this screen is from a Canvas learning management system, and the Curriculum Builder is available under the Modules section. When we go there, we select the area. We're looking at Week 2 overview, and we have a readings section there within the learning management system. So keep in mind, all of this is being done within the LMS, but we are looking to access and deploy the EDS, the Discovery Service content. Curriculum Builder is an external tool, and so you can see we have a URL that has been entered there. We have the page name and some brief instructions, and below here we can see that we want to add an item into our reading list. At this point, a window pops up and allows you to search EDS from within the learning management system. So we can locate the article or the material that we want and put that into our reading list for Week 2 overview of nanotechnology. Now, what peace, love, and happiness has to do with nanotechnology, I don't know, but that's a different question. We search EDS, and when you see the results, you'll see that there is now a button added, and that button is not there, of course, when we search EDS generically, and it allows us to add these items to the reading list directly from the EDS interface. This is a huge time saver. It helps to leverage library content that you select for using within the learning management system and helps you track the usage of that information correctly. So this has been a huge, huge success. Curriculum Builder is available it's available as an open source tool, meaning if you as a library want to download it and operate Curriculum Builder locally within your library, it's free, and you can do that. It's an open source solution. It is also available as what we would call a premium app within the EBSCO app and cloud service area. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit because it's a way that your library can take the EDS Discovery Service and really customize it with specific apps to enrich the research experience for your libraries. How this came about is we have a team of people at EBSCO, fantastic team, called Discovery Service Engineers. We have about 30 of these individuals throughout the world, and they're just great men and women. One of the things they do is they work with libraries before EDS is implemented, during, and after. They don't do the data loading, but they want to work with the library to customize the experience to make sure it fits with what you need. And along those lines, they're kind of like geek librarians, basically. So a lot of the folks who work as DSEs have built apps over time. And we did a survey of this internally, and we realized we had almost 100 different apps for searching other related services, for bringing other tools into the discovery experience. And so we collected these under a cloud services area that is available via a very modest subscription cost. And the goal there is these are all open source, so if you want them yourself, you can download them. But if you want them through our cloud service, we have the ability to host them and enhance these apps. So that is all included as part of this service. So here, this describes the EBSCO apps and cloud services area. And of course, we have, as I said, about 100 of these, but you can also request other ones that we would be, that you might be interested in. If we do a search among our apps, and you can see we have a couple of things. We have a Blacklight plugin, EBSCO Librarian, which is a chat widget or app. We've got different categories here. And here I've just did a brief search, and you can see Curriculum Builder. This is an alphabetical list, I think. A Credo reference search, so that provides an app to search Credo along the side of EDS. A Wikipedia search, a Dynamite placard, a Drupal plugin. So a huge variety of different tools that you can use to customize EDS. So I just wanted to make you aware of those. So let me just move forward, and I want to talk a little bit about interoperability as a whole, as we've come through several generations of online systems and products. So if we start at a time when I would call it the legacy era, many times the systems, the functionality of the system was incomplete. So you had to pick different solutions from different vendors to make up a whole. Some libraries bought acquisition systems from one vendor and a circ and a cataloging system from another. That tended to make librarians pretty happy because they could choose the type of functionality they wanted on a more or less module by module basis. However, there were huge problems with this. These systems were hard and difficult to work together. They predated many standards and APIs. So they tended to exist as separate silos or different islands of data. Choice, however, was very high. The marketplace had a lot of options, a lot of healthy, vibrant organizations during that era. As we move into the integrated era, some things got better. The functionality overall got better, but in individual modules, things weren't always consistent. So a librarian might say, gosh, I wish I had the search system from this system and the acquisition system from that system and the ERM system from that system. Because so the functionality mix was not always even across a specific platform or library system. Interoperability sort of moves up a level because systems work better together. APIs began to result, and things moved from batch only to more real-time interaction. And Discovery enters the stage here, and Discovery enters as a completely different system that is unique from the ILS, and then sort of requires a lot from the ILS, not only in terms of content, but in terms of interaction with patron data, circulation transactions, and so on. One of the issues, though, is that choice is a little bit limited at this point, so there's not as much choice as there were. Vendors begin to consolidate. Now we come to the next gen era, which is basically where we are now. Functionality, it has changed, but maybe it's moved forward in some areas, and maybe it's dropped back a little bit in other areas. As vendors have redeveloped their systems and suppliers have redeveloped their systems, not all functionality comes over from the integrated era to the next gen era. So there are winners and losers. Overall, it's probably a better solution, but in individual specific cases within the library departments, some departments might be lacking a little bit. Interoperability, however, stays about the same. So one of the things that we've noticed is the next-gen era, although it's based on what are theoretically called open systems and open APIs, which should allow that platform to provide other services, they're really built more and more as monolithic systems, which work well if you buy everything from a single supplier. This seems to be somewhat counter to the next-gen ethos. The whole idea or philosophy of open systems is libraries can select best-of-breed platform choices and move from there. The other part is there's fewer and fewer choices available in the marketplace due to consolidation. So libraries have less to choose from, and when you make a selection, many times you feel somewhat inhibited from making your best-of-breed choice. We think there's a pathway to choice, and that's around open platforms. Paraphrasing some content that I borrowed from Ken Chad, who's a consultant in the UK, and Ken has written about open platforms versus the monolithic systems. And an open platform is designed to be based on loosely coupled applications, which should help you onboard new systems and retire older systems with far less impact than the current generation of ILS system does, where part of it is to make it such a large job that you don't switch systems because it's a huge event. Whereas in the web world that we all see, web tools and platforms that we all use change regularly, and we just adapt to it. We figure it out. However, that barrier is so high within library system technology is the barrier to change becomes really, really difficult. There's a couple of benefits or attributes that this provides. The speed of development is enabled. It becomes an agile technology. A platform does basic work. Developers and librarians concentrate on business logic and specific modules. So things become interoperable at that point. And the individuals or the developers can be third-party companies. So we really look at this as very much could be a hybrid community of open source tools like we have in our app store and cloud services. It can be vendor-provided solutions. It can be community developed or library developed. So really looking at open community to build these new platforms. So this is what we're very much hoping will move to in the future. So just in closing, comment from Marshall Breeding as part of research or NISO white paper, The Future of Library Resource Discovery. Libraries need the ability to set strategies for discovery and resource management, or ILSs, independently, and expect these systems to have mutual interoperability. So we certainly believe discovery is central. EDS supports better research outcomes in multiple ways, and we've talked about these throughout the day. Better content, relevance, and specific technology features, and we support choice in your technology solutions. As you consider a discovery service, we've got this huge infographic. I'm not going to take you through all of it, but keep in mind that one of the things that we offer is the ability to really test EDS in action. And a live trial is, we believe, super important to test against your existing discovery service, if you have a discovery service other than EDS, and compare that for what you might be gaining in the future. And look at it with your data and go side by side. So I thank you very much for your attention through the day. I know I've run up right on the hour. I was hoping to get done a little bit more quickly. I think Rachel is here, and if there are questions or comments, I'll see if Rachel shoots them over, and we might have time for a couple of questions. So Rachel, I'll just ask you if you have any, please feel free to send those along to me.
Sure.
If not,
sure.
Yes.
Here's one from Kristen, Neil. She says, your missed connection slide illustrates your point well. Something I would like to see in EDS is the ability for administrators to configure whether users can access your subject source. What EBSCO offers is excellent. This would be helpful too.
Okay, well, thank you. I don't have a direct response to that right now, but if we can collect these, Rachel, we'll be happy to respond to any of you who do have questions and get those into the right product management people so we can determine where we are on a roadmap with those particular questions. My email address is up here. please don't hesitate to shoot off an email to me if you have a question or a comment. I really appreciate everybody attending today, and I think we'll probably wrap it up from here. Rachel, do you have any last thoughts on this? Rachel's helping me out
no,
today.
that's great. Thank you, Neil.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.